Hello, Falcha, bonjour, and happy new year to everybody. So, a really common question that I've been asked many times, and I hope to address in this video, is what do you do on the first day back after a break? When students haven't been listening or reading or speaking the language for a few weeks. In many cases, they're usually quite nervous when they come back. They're nervous to be around their classmates, they're nervous to be with you, they're nervous to be back in school, and of course, they're back in a language learning environment where they're wondering, will I be called upon? Will I remember? All of these things. So typically what I do is a very, very simple first day back routine, which is all about listening to comprehensible inputs that are interesting. And I do a very simple listen and draw activity. So this is zero prep, really very little that you need to do. And at its heart, there is autonomy, competence, and relatedness. So it brings them back to feeling motivated in the classroom and listening and acquiring new language implicitly. So it's very, very simple. So after they arrive in, I'll welcome them, say hello, a little bit of small talk, chat, chit chat in Spanish with the learners. Just how are they? What do they do? Where do they go? One on one as they're kind of settling. And then after that, we go quite quickly into a listen and draw activity where I provide most of the inputs and I'm telling them things that happen to me during my holidays that are usually funny or silly or stupid. Now, if you don't have anything at that you can immediately think of that's kind of funny and interesting, it can be something really small, like somebody broke a dish, or somebody fell over, or the tree fell down, or somebody got a present that they really didn't want. Whatever it may be. And if you need to embellish and make it up a little bit, that's fine too. But just something kind of silly that happened to you, your family, your dog, nothing too serious. And actually, the students really like hearing about these silly everyday things that happened. So here's how it would start. Typically, I will provide the students with in pairs. I'll ask them to be in pairs, and they'll have a whiteboard, and they'll have some paper and a pen, just very typical stuff that they would have on their desk. And I'll start telling them with the timer. I'll have someone time it for me about something that happened during my holidays. I'll explain that I'm going to talk quite fast, and it's up to them to try and take out the key information. Now, of course, I make it understandable. I use some pictures, gestures, I make sure I'm using my face. And the idea is that one person is allowed to write down key vocabulary terms, not sentences, just bullet points of key words that I mention. And the other person is trying to draw what I'm talking about at the same time, but they're not allowed to include any words or numbers in their drawing. And I'll time myself for 2 minutes, or someone will time me and then say stop. And so I'll do, whatever happened, like we were all sitting together and then the alarm clock went off and I ran downstairs and I saw that my dog had done a poo on the carpet. And of course, that's not what happened, but nothing interesting happened, so I've made that thing up. And we do this for 2 minutes, and then after 2 minutes, I'll say stop. And I'll say compare with your partner. Now, what information did you take out? And they'll start looking at the picture and looking at the words. And they can do this in Spanglish. A little bit of Spanish, a little bit of English is fine. It's the first day back. And so they might say, oh yeah, he went here, he did this. Oh yeah, the dog, poo, the carpet. And I might need to explain carpet. I might need to draw some stuff on the board as well as I'm doing this, which slows me down a little bit. Then I'll do the same thing again, but this time they only have a minute. And I'll essentially try and tell the same story, but just in a minute. If I don't get to the end of it, I'll do another minute. And then we do this again another time, and I do it for 30 seconds, like really, really quickly, and then 15 seconds, and then 5 seconds. And of course, they're all laughing and having a good time with this, especially when it gets to the 5 seconds bit, because I'm essentially going, dog, poo, carpet, Christmas. And then we stop. And they'll all find this quite interesting. And now they have to try and recreate this with me. So they'll first try and do it together, and they'll try and write down what happened in pairs. And they'll be asking me for structures. I might put certain things on the board that will help them, like went to, went down the stairs, saw, listened to, whatever is part of your key story. Then we will co-construct it together. So I'll get their ideas, I'll look at the drawings, I might take one or two of the drawings up that are really funny or interesting, and I'll talk around the whole story again using their image or using their whiteboard, and let them listen to it even more again. And then I'll do a write and discuss with them, where I try and write out what happened as they're looking at the board. So again, there's lots of autonomy there. They're choosing what words together, they're choosing the drawing, they're working together. There's no pressure there. It's low stakes. It's just listening to what is happening. They're acquiring lots of new language by listening to me. And of course, that they're getting new vocabulary, they're working together, they're building relationships, that's relatedness. And they feel very competent because they can understand me speaking in Spanish the whole time because I'm making it understandable for them. And so there's autonomy, competence, relatedness, and they'll get lots and lots out of it. Now you'll see that when you've done this, you may have 15, 20 minutes left of class. And now they will be very open to telling you about things that happened to them. So it might be, did anyone else have a funny incident? Did anyone have an incident with a car? Anything happened funny with a boat? Did anybody have an animal that was in their holidays that was funny, or something happened? And now the hands will start to go up. And of course, if they're telling you in English, then you can relay it in Spanish. We can learn about each other. We have our pages of our notebook for each person in the class. So maybe I'll say, if nobody gives me anything for that, I might be like, okay, everybody stand up. If you went to another country or another state or another town, go to this door. If you didn't go anywhere, you stayed in the same place, stay at the window. And then we'll start asking them, where did you go? Did you go on the train? What happened? And we'll start learning that Matthew went here and John went there and Imelda was here and Dolores, her dog, goes sick as well. And we'll learn this about each other, and then they'll have to write that in the page for each of those people from their class. And that's typically how I do the first class of the year. Autonomy, competence, relatedness builds motivation.